5 days remain until WrestleMania 29. Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Suro and Disney here yet again, and let's talk WWE Monday Night Raw from last night. And it was live from the nation's capital, our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And, ladies and gentlemen, this road to WrestleMania has been paved with a lot of potholes along the way. Basically, we are 5 days remaining from the showcase of the Immortals. And that means that finally, all the pieces fit together. Well, or so they seem. Now here's the thing. Before we get talking about Raw from last night, I do want to mention what's going down for WrestleMania. One thing I really don't like the fact that you pretty much relegate the Intercontinental Championship, the title match between Wade Barrett defending against The Miz, two people that I like very much as wrestlers and as people, but it's on the 1 hour long pre-show. It's on the pre-show. Then you have a mixed tag match with Cameron and Naomi, Brodus Clay and Sweet Tea, the Tons of Funk and the Funkadactyls, taking on Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow, Nikki and Brie Bella, the Bella Twins, the Rhodes Scholars, and the Bella Twins in an 8-person tag match, and that's on the card. Oh yeah, by the way, the United States champion who can't seem to buy a win lately, Antonio Cesaro, not even on the show, not at all, not even on the pre-show. Hopefully that gets rectified as of sometime this weekend. Apparently, Vince just got Twitter, so he's supposed to make a big announcement on Friday SmackDown, and hopefully we'll be able to find out what it is in the near future. Maybe hopefully not have to wait till Friday, but most likely we will have to wait till Friday. I did see that they taped a few matches along the weekend for SmackDown Superstars and the main event, so I will be doing a review of the matches on SmackDown from Friday night. Not necessarily all the video packages, because if you've watched any of these videos, you would know that I've reviewed these video packages 1,000 times. So I'm not going to do it any longer. Another thing, the Divas Championship, Kaitlyn, would look like she was going to be pushed towards a match at the very last minute against AJ, her former best friend and Chickbuster's tag team partner. That's not happening. The proposed 6-person winner-take-all match with, Hell No and Kaitlyn against Dolph Ziggler, Biggie Langston, and AJ Lee. That's not going to happen now either. So we've pretty much just mentioned it as a straight tag match with Hell No against Biggie and Ziggy. So that match will take place at WrestleMania, but Kaitlyn will not face off against AJ at WrestleMania. You will get a Divas match at WrestleMania, but it's not a straight Divas match, and it's also involving Brodus Clay, Sweet Tea, and the Rhodes Scholars, which I like to refer to as Mustachio and the Beard. So, there's that. There's a lot of people that are on the WrestleMania card. Obviously, Zack Ryder's on the WrestleMania card, but you know, last night he actually got a Raw match that was quite competitive, so I was kind of happy to see that, to be totally honest, because they've been jobbing Ryder out pretty left and right lately. So, actually, since Z True Long Island Story ended, they've been jobbing out Zack Ryder rather handily on television. He's won a lot on house shows, but he doesn't really win on TV very often, so it was nice seeing him back on Raw, but I'll get to that when we get to the recap. But without any further ado, I shall go to my television monitor / computer monitor of fun, and let's talk WWE Monday Night Raw from the go-home edition to WrestleMania 29. Excuse me. Frog in my throat there. So right away, before we get started with anything, any matches, any commentary for the evening, John Cena comes out. And my God, John Cena gets booed incessantly. Like, even more so than usual. I mean, usually the kids peek through with all the boos with a little bit of cheering, so it sounds a little bit better on television. No. This time, it seemed like every man, woman, and child in that building hated John Cena. Obviously, as you can tell as we peer throughout the crowd with the camera, that wasn't the case, because we saw a lot of pro Cena signs and Cena shirts. sporadically placed around the arena. However, if you heard the pop, or if you heard the heat on television, you would notice that there was no pop at all. Kind of like, basically just one of the most hated men in the world. Kind of like Cena's already heel. But I think that might be coming sooner rather than later. Contrary to popular belief, I have a theory on that, so we'll get to that later. So Cena comes out. He says, "This is a house divided in the middle of our nation's capital, full of Cenacrats and Rockpublicans." I think it's the other way around, John, actually. I think more people that are Democrats would probably like The Rock, and more Republicans would like John Cena. So, yeah, that doesn't really make much sense. Cena says it's no secret that he and Dwayne don't like each other. Cena says he respects The Rock for the global star he is, and he's worthy of being called the WWE Champion. But the childish games are over for this year, because this is much bigger than that. The Rock is the defending WWE Champion. John Cena says, you name it, The Rock has conquered it. And tonight, he won't waste his breath talking about Dwayne Johnson. And the crowd, of course, boos that fact. Cena says he believes Rock is the greatest WWE champion of all time. Yeah, not sure about that one. Shawn Michaels. Yeah, Shawn Michaels. Anyway, Randy Savage. Yeah, I know I'm kind of being a broken record, but Shawn Michaels, Randy Savage, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yes, seriously, I'm doing this to prove a point. Obviously, The Rock's not the best WWE champion of all time. But I understand why he said this in the contents of the promo. Now, Cena says the Great One will fall, and of course the crowd boos him even more. Cena says, once again, Rock's time is up, and his time is now. At the point now, the building is probably so deafeningly loud with all sorts of heat for John Cena, it's excruciating for anybody that's anywhere in this building at this point. I'm sure little children are probably hating this at this very moment. Cena says at WrestleMania, the WWE Universe will... And right when he stops, the fans start chanting, Cena sucks. So Cena smirks and goes on forward, says the WWE Universe may see a moment they didn't think was possible. Cena goes on about dealing about the loss from last year and having to watch The Rock debut his own title belt. Something that both Cena and CM Punk in the back were supposed to do at one point, that they wanted to do. Obviously, Punk, when he had his historic over 400-day reign as WWE Champion, he wanted to debut the new title, but they waited to put it on The Rock. Cena says the Mighty Rock will experience failure at WrestleMania. Cena says he has no intention of replacing the new title belt. He wants to hold it as a symbol. And at this point, the entire building starts chanting boring at the top of their lungs. So Cena's being drowned out. His entire promo is being drowned out by this ginormous boring chant. So Cena stops, smirks again, and continues as a symbol that he's not only The Rock's equal, but he's better than The Rock. The champ is here, and he drops the mic, smiling, basically saying that after Sunday, the WWE will never be the same again. You know, you've heard this a billion times. But, interesting promo, given the fact that John Cena's kind of looked like the Punk in this feud, honestly. Rock has owned him left and right. So, it was interesting to see Cena's heartfelt promo get reduced to jeered by the entire audience. So, here's what I'm thinking, and I've been saying this since day one. So, all you people that are saying this now and jumping on this bandwagon, you know what? I started this first. I said this way back in WNL in the chat room, and a lot of you guys can vouch for this. Hopefully, Ashley, you were there that day, so you can vouch for this. But I say right now, John Cena is going to turn on Sunday. I know it's not a smart business decision, but then again, I really don't think it matters at this point. I mean, when The Miz was a heel, he was still doing his Make-A-Wish. He was still one of the most asked for superstars when it comes to Make-A-Wish. So, I mean, he was actually, him and Cena both do the grunt work for Make-A-Wish, and it makes total sense, honestly. But even with that, I still think John Cena's going to turn heel on Sunday. And you know, I think John Cena's behind the Shield. And I've been saying this since day one. So you guys that are saying this now, that are thinking, wait a minute, Cena's behind the Shield. No. I've been saying this since day one. John Cena is behind the Shield. I say The Rock wins on Sunday. Cena realizes he couldn't win the big one 2 years in a row, and Cena just snaps. Or, what you could possibly do is have the match end with either Rock or Cena going over. It works either way. And after the match is over, you have the Shield come out, fresh off their win over Sheamus and The Big Show when Randy Orton turns heel, like everyone knows he's going to. When that happens, you have the Shield get ready to attack John Cena and The Rock. And Cena and The Rock are back-to-back, getting ready to fight off the Shield. The Shield get up on the ring apron at the same time, and they get in the ring and they stare down. And then out of nowhere, John Cena nails The Rock from behind and tosses him to the Shield, and he just stands back with the Shield just beat the daylights out of The Rock. And I could see WrestleMania, not WrestleMania ending, if you want to do it this way, I could honestly see a world where WrestleMania could end with all the Cena shirts in the building being tossed in the middle of the ring. It would be a hell of a spectacle, to be totally honest, to see all those t-shirts flying from all different sides of the arena. Who knows what they would do? But John Cena basically doing his version of Hulk Hogan's, you fans could stick it, brother. So, that you could see that at WrestleMania. If they don't go with that, I think either way, I think Rock would win. Would lose in this case. And I think after that, the Shield would come down anyway, go to beat down Rock and Cena, and Rock and Cena team up against the Shield at Extreme Rules. So either way, this is leading to Rock and Cena meeting in some form at Extreme Rules. If it might be the third match, it might be a rematch, it might be a tag match, who knows. But there's a lot of ways you can go with this. And if Cena turns on Sunday, I told you so. And if Cena is the leader of the Shield, whether it's now or later, once again, I told you so. So that's pretty much the end of that. So basically, we get another 6-man tag match. Okay, first off, on SmackDown this week, you put the Rhodes Scholars with Antonio Cesaro. Okay, that's fine. I get that, because you have strong opponents for Randy Orton, Sheamus, and The Big Show. Why did you have to have another match against 3MB? I mean, seriously. Honestly, Drew McIntyre showed a lot a week ago when he did the match. They had the 6-man, when actually, 2 weeks ago, in the main event on SmackDown, actually. Not the squash. I'm talking about the actual main event on SmackDown. Drew McIntyre showed a lot of potential, because everyone knows Drew McIntyre is awesome. And if they don't, they should realize that. Kind of like Fandango, but I'll talk about him later. Now, here's the thing. Excuse me. Now, basically from this perspective, you have another match. Now, is there any other 6-man teams? I mean, you could have put like Epico and Primo with someone and did it that way. No, they didn't. They had to do 3-man band again. So, basically, the match started off Orton locking up with Heath Slater. Orton reverses the whip. Slater floats over. Gets hit with an Orton clothesline for his efforts. Sheamus tagged in. He hits the battering ram. Slater gets a whip reversed. Heath kicks Sheamus and tags out to Drew. So McIntyre comes in and he gets back into a corner. Slater with a distraction. And McIntyre hits a nice running drop kick on Sheamus. He puts the boots to him. Tags in Jinder Mahal. And they try to contain Sheamus, but he fought off both men and nails the Irish Curse backbreaker. So Show gets the hot tag, lays out all members of 3MB. Slater and McIntyre get caught in the double goozle, both going for the choke slam. In this case, Show throws Slater to the RKO. McIntyre gets the bro kick. Jinder Mahal, he got knocked the F out, and that's exactly what happens. 1, 2, 3. So as the trio celebrates, here comes the Shield. So they square up and they get ready to face the Hounds of Justice. They make their way through the crowd before they stop about halfway on the steps. Ambrose gets on the mic and he gives Orton and company the rather sarcastic congratulations on their match, telling them to do your song and dance now because the Shield will leave them on their backs at WrestleMania, wondering where everything went wrong. Seth Rollins further on mentions how funny it is that they believe that they've gotten all the foolhardy people to believe that they can function as a group. Roman Reigns says everyone in the world will believe in the Shield come WrestleMania, and then the group take their leave. I believe in the Shield. I believe the Shield will still be undefeated after WrestleMania. Up later, Shawn Michaels returns to speak on Triple H's career being on the line in 6 days, and we see Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter having words for us from the streets of our nation's capital. Come back from commercial break, and Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter are in D.C. earlier today. Coulter mentions how, like Ricardo's ankle, the people of our nation are broken. But there's one man who can fix it, and that man is Jack Swagger. Swagger talks about winning the World Heavyweight Championship from Alberto Del Rio, and welcomes us to Jack Swagger's America. So, the Dazzler himself, Daniel Bryan, comes to the ring with Kane, and he's going to be facing off against a superstar up next. And yeah, we get another Dolph Ziggler-Daniel Bryan match on free television, and anytime I get that, I'm a happy guy. Now, Dolph Ziggler put it best on Twitter. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but this is pretty much what he said. Dolph Ziggler says, one day this match will main event WrestleMania with the World Heavyweight title on the line. And you know what? I don't have a problem with that. This match, if it is done now, this feud between Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler, if worked properly, if done correctly, the talent is obviously there. If they put confidence in both superstars, this can be done. This can be our generation's Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. I know that is a huge, huge weight I just put on the shoulders of both men. But you know, they have the talent. And it's funny because the person that would be our Shawn Michaels in this case is Dolph Ziggler, and obviously he's the show-off, shows a lot of the old-school Shawn Michaels tendencies. The person that we put in the Bret Hart stage is the guy that was trained by Shawn Michaels, so that's kind of funny. But, of course, Daniel Bryan, with all intents and purposes, is the real excellence of execution in the ring in the WWE right now. So, Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler for the World Heavyweight Championship? Yes, please. I want to see that happen now. But not necessarily the World Heavyweight Championship. I want to see it for the WWE Championship. I want Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler to feud over the WWE Championship. And someday, I hope that happens. I think that will. Sooner rather than later. So, we come back from commercial break after some really great action, actually. In the middle of the match, Daniel Bryan ended up hooking on the tarantula, and it looked awesome, as usual. So he broke that right before the commercial break, coming face-to-face with Big E Langston. Bryan slid back under the ring, got caught with a famouser for a 2 count. Now we come back from commercial, and Ziggler is once again in the headstand side headlock that he likes to do. For some reason, right before... Actually, on the WWE app, obviously it's probably done differently, but right when we get back from commercial break, it seems like Dolph always has that move locked on, like it's clockwork. So Bryan flights out of the sleeper hold attempt. He snapmares Ziggler out. He gets the boot up. Ziggler runs into the turnbuckle and gets drilled with the kicks. He dodges the buzzsaw kick, going for the zigzag, but Bryan grabs the ropes and nails the buzzsaw kick. He looked like he took Ziggler's head off. He goes up top for the swan dive headbutt, and it does not connect. Ziggler locks in the sleeper hold yet again, and Bryan counters into one of his own. Ziggler fights out, trying to roll up Bryan, but he bridges out. They go for the backslide, and they stalemate on it. Both men come off the ropes with the crossbody at the same time, and we've got our double down. AJ in turn starts skipping around Kane to try to distract him so Big E can attack from behind, and that's exactly what happens when Kane turns around. He gets dropped by Big E Langston. Bryan drop kicks him down, only to get rolled up by Ziggler from behind, hooked at the tights, 1, 2, 3. So Dolph Ziggler wins in about 11 minutes, probably a little bit longer via the WWE app. Great match. And these guys can do no wrong. Like I said, the comparison to Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, I mean, I'm just going to say it. I know it's big words and they're big boots to fill, but I think they can fill them. So, after the match, Big E Langston once again laid out Daniel Bryan with the most useless finisher in professional wrestling. Kane comes in for the defense, nails Dolph with an uppercut. He goozles Big E, and he just powers out of it and hits the useless finish again. And AJ brings the belts in, and Dolph and Big E stand tall with the titles in hands. Which, once again, Wrestling 101 proves us they're laying on their backs on Sunday. So, I got ways to do that too, but we'll talk about that during the WrestleMania predictions. So, later on, we have The Undertaker eviscerating CM Punk, and Shawn Michaels speaking on Brock Lesnar and Triple H's rematch up next. So, we flash back to SummerSlam. The build-up for SummerSlam, where Triple H had to watch while why his best friend Shawn Michaels got his arm broken by Brock Lesnar. So we see Shawn Michaels come out. He has a cowboy hat, 500 o'clock shadow, wearing Ted Nugent's leftovers like usual. And he jokes about how we can't have WrestleMania without the man himself, without Mr. WrestleMania. He highlights the other matches, but we know which match he has his eye on. Brock Lesnar versus his best friend, Triple H. He knows the history. He has the broken arm as proof of what Brock Lesnar is capable of. And he has his doubts. Right at this moment, Triple H's music hits, and he comes to the ring. We get a slight DX chant from the crowd momentarily, and they both get into serious mode. Triple H tells Shawn not to go too far with this. They already talked before, and Shawn's not going to change his mind. Shawn says he doesn't think Triple H knows what he's doing. The situations couldn't be more different. When Michael's career was on the line, he was looking across at a ring at someone he has respect for. Triple H, he's looking across the ring at Brock Lesnar, who has no respect for anyone except himself. Not Triple H, not the fans, not Shawn Michaels, not anyone but himself. Brock Lesnar does this for the money. Shawn didn't care about this job as much as Triple H does, and he's put his life into this. Triple H says Shawn is not going to try to talk him out of it. Michael says at WrestleMania, Triple H better kick Brock Lesnar's ass. Okay, once again, a Christian Shawn Michaels basically cursing on live television. You know WrestleMania season is here, folks. You know that this is serious when you have Shawn Michaels saying ass on television. It's just how it works. He's going to be in Triple H's corner, and he's just going to watch him do it. And of course, if you ain't down with that, we got two words for you. Brock Lesnar's music hits. And Paul Heyman says whether they like it or not, Lesnar's going to beat Triple H into retirement. And Triple H is going to have to learn to live with a disappointment. He's going to disappoint a whole lot of people. Brock Lesnar is not going to do this right now. Why should he? He gets paid to fight. And on Sunday, he's going to get paid to end Triple H's career. He says Brock did pick the fight originally, but Triple H answered the call and said he should have just walked away into the sunset. But when Brock is done with him, he'll have to crawl away. This is the same Brock Lesnar who, after all these years, caused the cerebral assassin to commit professional suicide. What tremendous lines. Paul Heyman is gold. Gold, Jerry. Gold on the mic tonight. And I'm telling you right now, for all you people that don't like Shawn Michaels, Shawn Michaels, long day. For all you people that don't like Paul Heyman, honestly, I don't know why. Heyman is literally one of the best heels in the WWE right now, without any question. The type of response Paul Heyman can elicit with what he says, just words, not sneak attacks, something like that, just words. Heyman is gold in every single way possible. And putting him with CM Punk, even though Punk can talk, obviously Punk definitely can talk, Brock Lesnar can't. So, basically, it works really well to have him be the mouthpiece for Brock Lesnar. And it's working really well because I don't think there's anyone, even people that are Paul Heyman fans, like myself. I'm a Paul Heyman guy. I always have been. But when it comes down to it, honestly, he gets everybody to hate him. And it works really well. He is a dynamite heel, to say the least. Excuse me. So, alright. We come back from commercial break. Once again, the Miz is on commentary, not in the ring. And you know what that means? We get Wade Barrett in action next. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So, the Intercontinental Champion has a non-title match up against Zack Ryder, who, like I said, I'm very glad to see back on Raw. So, Barrett hits forearms on Ryder's back and hits a suplex. Ryder comes back, knocks him down, sends Barrett to the outside, tosses him back in the ring. This time, he hits a basement dropkick and rolls Wade back in the ring, heads up top, going for the missile dropkick, but Barrett trips him up. He hits the knee to the midsection and only gets a 2 count. Barrett keeps control while he's jawing with the Miz on the outside. And Miz with a quick distraction, Barrett rolled back in, Ryder makes his comeback. He ends up hitting the broski boot, still gets a 2 count. Barrett turns it around and nails the bullhammer for the 1-2-3. About almost 4 minutes. So win for Wade Barrett, which is something he needed at this point because he's the Intercontinental Champion. And with any indication of the fact that he's been losing on a regular basis in non-title matches, I think he's losing the title on Sunday. I wouldn't do it. But then again, if you're going to do that, then you build Wade Barrett back up and you send him towards the a higher echelon championship. And I don't mean the U.S. title. The U.S. title is not even important enough to be on the broadcast. I mean, the U.S. Championship has been held by Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair and Ravishing Rick Rude and Sting, and just a lot of superstars in the history have feuded over the United States Championship. And what is it on WrestleMania? It's nothing. It's not even on the show. It's kind of a slap in the face. Then you have your U.S. champion lose on a consecutive basis to the person that he was going to face for the title, and then they don't have the title match. So they put The Miz with Wade Barrett instead, after they were pretty much pushing Miz against Cesaro, and they decided to change it at the last minute and not give Antonio Cesaro a WrestleMania payday, which sucks, because Wade Barrett does need a WrestleMania payday, I totally agree, but he should be a lot higher in the card. And Antonio Cesaro, in a perfect world, would be battling for the WWE or World Heavyweight Championships, because he is that awesome. And he's that consistent, too. So, Brad Maddox returns to television, and it's awesome, because I love Brad Maddox. Follow him on Twitter, folks. I think it's Brad Maddox WWE. And Vicky Guerrero, they're backstage, and Santino walks in, which I haven't seen him for a minute. And he says he just saw Vince McMahon storm out of the building in his limousine. Basically, he was yelling, he was upset about what Vicky and Brad have been doing on Raw, and Vince usually fires people when he's angry. And for a second, they seem kind of worried, and then Santino says, April Fool. Okay. Vicky tells Santino to get in the ring because he has a match up next. So, he pretty much put his foot in his mouth, or in this case, his cobra in his mouth. Not talking that way. Get your head out of your gutter, folks. Anyway, Santino power walks to the ring, and when he gets in the ring, he's going to face Mark Henry. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. So Santino goes to work with Mark Henry with some kicks, hits some to the midsection, hits one to the side of the head, no effect, as usual. So Mark catches him by the singlet. Santino warns him, you know what I have in here? Once again, double entendre aside. He pulls out the Cobra, and Mark Henry nails him with a clothesline that pretty much knocks him out. Picks him up, World's Strongest Slam, 1, 2, 3. So less than a minute long. Here comes Ryback, yay. So he's, of course, fuming from the attack from last Friday, but then again, due to the fact that he used the bar, he didn't physically put his hands on Ryback, so the match continues. So Henry begs him off, admitting he wants to get his hands on Ryback just as much as Ryback wants to lay him out, but he'll have to wait until WrestleMania. He smirks, and he smiles, and he goes to leave. So Ryback picks up Santino and knocks him into Mark Henry, knock him out of the ring. He says, I never touched Mark Henry. And he asks Santino if he's okay. He picks him up, military presses him over the top rope onto Mark Henry, who's on the arena floor. Once again, he didn't touch Mark Henry, so the matchup will start happening at WrestleMania. Yay. So loud, Phoebe Moore chants from a robotic crowd in the audience, and Mark Henry fuming on the outside. Okay. Ryback needs to win this. If you want to push him, I get that. He doesn't need to win this. Honestly, Mark Henry needs to win this. I need to progress further with him. I need to put him back in the World Heavyweight Championship picture. Ryback, just do something else, honestly. I mean, the matches in the house shows, they're not going that well. And you know what? I mean, at this point, he couldn't get Lord Tensai up back in the day. I have my reservations if he can do Shell Shock properly to Mark Henry. It might end up just being like a Torture X Samoan drop without the whole stupid stomping and histrionics like it always is. But, yeah, this match it's gonna be interesting, but, you know, I don't know if it'll be for the right reasons. So, yeah, Mark Henry needs to go over at WrestleMania and continue to be a monster. And Ryback needs to, go back to NXT and start from scratch, because it's just not working. I know, I get this. I just don't like the guy personally. Well, okay, I don't have a problem with Ryan Reeves at all. And I didn't really even mind Skip Sheffield. It's just, I don't like Ryback. I just don't at all. I understand he's going to be the guy, and I got to get used to that. That's fine, and he's probably going to win on Sunday, but I don't want that to happen. He has to show me something, and he hasn't. I know there's a lot of talk about him turning heel, and I don't think that'd work either, so I don't know. Start from scratch. I know they're not going to, because it's obviously working with the crowd, so that's all that matters. You sell the merch, you get the guy over, and he's over, so no matter if I like it or not, Ryback's probably going to win on Sunday, even though I really want to see Mark Henry win, but that's just personal preference, and I think they could do a lot more with Mark Henry winning, because they could just sick him on Alberto Del Rio, or whomever is the World Heavyweight Champion by that time, so we'll figure out how we're going from there. Up next, we're going to see something that we haven't seen in a long time. Dirty Dutch Mantel in a WWE ring. That's right, Zeb Coulter faces off against the World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio up next. So, we come back from commercial break. We see Vince McMahon's now on Twitter, which I knew like a couple weeks ago, and I already followed him, so I mean, you guys are behind. You 50,000 people are behind. Anyway. So Matt Striker's backstage with CM Punk. Punk has the urn in hand, of course. Striker questions Punk if he feels he's gone too far with the disrespect shown to The Undertaker and the late Paul Bearer. Punk says the better question is, do I even care about the disrespect I've shown? He's concerned about breaking the streak. And in a very morbid statement, Taker was concerned with seeing if Paul Bearer woke up every morning and that streak was broken. Yeah, it's a morbid statement. I understand, but wow, that was kind of morbid. I understand why it was done, and I don't have a problem with it. It was just very morbid. But then again, this whole feud has been rather morbid, so I understand. And it makes sense for the context of the storyline. Punk goes on to say that while The Undertaker will be focused on scarring Punk's soul and breaking his bones, Punk just wants to win. And if Undertaker gets counted out or gets disqualified, so be it. The streak is still broken. It doesn't really matter. He could even slip in and tap him out of nowhere. It could happen. Punk still wins. And at the end of this year's WrestleMania, whenever anyone thinks about the grandest stage of them all, they'll think about CM Punk. This feud is awesome, and it's been built up in such a short amount of time. I could only imagine what would happen if they would have had like a longer build for this. But then again, you really didn't need it, honestly, because you got enough heat on this match in a couple of weeks. The kind of heat that Rock and Cena would kill to have at this point, that they don't. But Swagger and Coulter are out next, and Zeb's first official match in the WWE. I don't believe Uncle Zebekiah did any matches in 1995, 96. I don't think so. He might have done a six-man with the Blues Brothers maybe once or twice on a house show possibly, but I don't think it ever made it on television, so I could be wrong on that. I'm just guesstimating at this point, but I'm going to think that he probably hasn't been in a WWE ring before. He was in a WWF ring. It's the difference. But still, not really, but you know what I mean. We get a non-title match up next. Alberto Del Rio against Zeb Coulter. Ricardo Rodriguez is, of course, coming down on crutches. He introduces the World Heavyweight Champion, as he always does, and he still comes down to ringside, even though he was pretty much told to stay in the back because of ADR being worried about his health and safety. I understand that. So the bell rings, and Del Rio taunts Zeb. Zeb swings, doesn't even come close. Swagger is stalking Ricardo on the outside. And Zeb grabs his crutch and threatens Del Rio with it. Ricardo dropped on the floor by Swagger. Del Rio kicks Swagger through the ropes. And Del Rio comes back in, and Zeb attacks him with a crutch, and we get a disqualification. So after the match, Del Rio grabs the crutch and takes it from Zeb before he can get a shot. Swagger attacks from behind, takes Del Rio's knee out, and Swagger beats Del Rio with the crutch. Now Zeb gets some shots in and they take turns. Swagger, of course, yells incessantly, "We the people," or as WNL likes to use, "Weed the people," at Del Rio as Zeb continues with the crutch shots. Officials check on Del Rio as he tries to get up, and we see the crutch marks on his back. So not as much heat on this match as the WWE would have liked, and I think a retain at WrestleMania is going to happen, but I don't see ADR leaving with the championship, if you know what I mean. So we recap Cena's promo from earlier, which I've already talked about, and here comes The Rock up next. After the commercial break, Rock comes out, and he gets on the mic. Huge pop for The Rock, as always. Connection. Rock's connection with the people is the only reason he's standing in the ring right now. Well, that and all the Millions of dollars, millions of dollars, millions of dollars that Vince plunked down in order to make it happen. But anyway, he tells Cena that this Sunday it's not about redemption. It's about the will of the people. And the will of the people is not for Cena's redemption. Oh no, it's for The Rock to take a size 15 boot and curb stomp Cena's monkey ass all the way up and down WrestleMania. Okay, interesting. The fans chant Rocky incessantly like they always do. The will of the people is bigger than anything John Cena can imagine. If possible, the people could vote, I don't know, maybe move Rock into this town on a semi-regular basis. Get him a nice house. A nice White House. We could go from President Barack to President The Rock. And the crowd, of course, goes crazy for that one. He asks if he can count on the people's vote. And of course, they respond with a loud yes. He promises that his inauguration, the speech will start with the immortal, "Finally, The Rock has come back to Washington, D.C." Yes, I can't do that impersonation. It's one of the ones I can't do. I'll get Will to do it sometime for you guys. So Rock mentions how Cena comes out and says the same things over and over again, the same stuff he said last year. But what happened? Last year, Cena got rock bottomed. Doesn't change this year. There's no redemption. No torch will be passed. The Rock will take that torch, which is the WWE Championship belt, roll it up in a big fireball, Duraflame that sumbitch, and stick it straight up Cena's candy ass. Yes. PG era is useless when The Rock is on television. That's how we do. Cena looks for redemption. The Rock's already found what he's come for. And Cena's time won't be now. Cena's time will be never. Cena will fall to The Rock and the millions and millions, and of course he does it like 1,000 times, of The Rock's fans, and he won't be able to deny the will of the people. And he surely won't beat The Rock. Drops the "if you smell," flicks the eyebrow up, what The Rock is cooking. And it works. Cena and Fandango. Wow, interesting. I just totally skipped for the rest of the promo here. Interesting promo from The Rock. Once again, talking about absolutely nothing and getting to the point at the end. So, that's just how it works sometimes. Jericho facing Fandango at WrestleMania. And Jericho's walking and he's up in action next. So we come back from commercial break, and our Just for Men flashback shows Fandango ambushing Jericho after the match on Raw Monday night, and also the ambush after that from Big E Langston last Friday on SmackDown. Actually, we're talking about the match against Dolph Ziggler last Friday night on SmackDown, not Raw. I don't know why I mentioned Raw. So we get a non-title match with the United States Champion, which sadly is nowhere to be seen on the WrestleMania card, facing the guy who should be his WrestleMania opponent, Chris Jericho. So, we come back from commercial break. Actually, I'm just going to call this match anyway. So, they lock up instead of the ring. Cesaro backs Jericho up and slaps him in the face. Jericho locks in his headlock and takes it over. Cesaro fights out and gets a headlock of his own and cinches it in. He goes for a shoulder block, hits a 2 count. Jericho hits chops. Antonio catches him, drives him into the corner. Jericho comes back with a drop kick, more chops in the corner, and a big suplex by Jericho, and a kick, only gets a 2 count. Cesaro takes him down, locking in a sleeper hold. Jericho fights out, tosses Cesaro to the apron. By the way, the sleeper hold that we're talking about is a Shinonamaki, which is like a modified version of the $1 Million Dream with a camel clutch. Anyway, Jericho fights out, tosses Cesaro to the apron, and Cesaro hits a nice headbutt to Jericho's eye, which is interesting because Cesaro's been hitting headbutts in a really awkward manner lately. It's like he's Power Udi or something. Honestly, just like, all he sees is a red card and headbutt, done the party. That's a shout out to Cliff Compton, who follows me on Twitter. But then again, Cesaro goes up top, Jericho crotches him up top, he gets up for a few rights and hands, and goes for the nice Frankensteiner off the top, only gets a near fall. At that point, Fandango's music hits, and he comes through his sleazy strip club entrance, trademark Big Daddy Donnie from the O Show last week, and of course he has his concubine with him, and he is dancing, and Jericho watches in disbelief as we have a mid-match break. Mid-match break means we go back to commercial. And when we come back from commercial, Cesaro has locked on a cravat on Chris Jericho. Now, during the break, we saw Jericho only got a 2 from Fandango, who is now actually rating the moves of Jericho. Which is funny because at this very moment, I'm going to give it to Michael Cole on this one, because at that very moment, I was thinking Silver Linings Playbook, and just like I was in his headset instead of Vince McMahon, he actually drops a line pretty much saying that Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper got higher ratings in Silver Linings Playbook. And I was like, good props to Michael Cole for that reference, because obviously I love that movie for a lot of reasons. So, pretty much, that was the Jericho dropkick, the springboard dropkick he hit on Cesaro. And pretty much, Cesaro hits the double boot stomp, and after that, gets a near fall. Jericho goes to the outside, and Cesaro throws him into the barricade. Cesaro locks in the cravat yet again, and hits the Magnum driver, which, I don't know why you're calling it the Magnum driver. It hits a version of the Michinoku driver for a near fall. Hits the yodeling uppercut, and only gets another near fall. Shoulder tackle by Jericho. He fires back up Jericho off the top with a double axe handle. He crowned him. Hits the running bulldog. Goes for the lion salt. 1, 2, 3. No! Kick out. At 3, literally. Jericho goes for the walls. Counter from Cesaro. Locks in the gut wrench. Hits a gut wrench suplex for the near fall. Jericho hits the crossbody. Only gets the 2 count. And baseball slide takes out Fandango, and the scorecards go flying. Cesaro rolls up Jericho in a small package. Jericho reverses into the walls, clinches in the Lion Tamer, and we have a tap out. These two need to wrestle more. A lot more. This match should have been the match at Mania. I understand why you're hyping Johnny Curtis and you're hyping the Fandango gimmick. It makes total sense to me. And the fact that you're going to give him a win over Chris Jericho on his first WrestleMania, that's fine. But this match should have been Antonio Cesaro against Chris Jericho at WrestleMania for the United States Championship. But they didn't do it. Missed opportunity. But they gave us this awesome 13-minute match on live television and on free television, so I don't have a problem with that. After the match, Fandango beat down Jericho and he assaulted him again. The fans start up with "You Can't Wrestle" chants. And he hits the guillotine leg drops again. 2 of them in succession. And reminds Jericho what his name is. Once again, he should not have said that anything. He should have just dropped the mic and left. Big Daddy Donnie, you're a genius, sir. You know what you're talking about. So it makes total sense to me, too. Why do you talk when you don't have to? Let your actions speak louder than your words. Once again, Taker plans to verbally eviscerate CM Punk. And of course, Cole just said he's going to eviscerate CM Punk instead of verbally. So basically saying he's going to kill CM Punk on live television. No, he's going to do it verbally. So, no. Good job, Michael Cole. You forgot the N in Funk last week. And now what do you say? You basically say the Undertaker's going to kill CM Punk. Literally. So, jam up job. But I'll put you over for the Silver Linings Playbook reference. Anyway, we come back from commercial break. We see some touts as usual. I don't really care. And here come the Funkadactyls to the ring. Naomi and Cameron along with the Monsters of Funk, the Fat Boys. Nope, they're called Tons of Funk. Yeah, that name sucks. But it gives me a lot of chance to make a lot of funk puns. And that's what I'm probably going to do. Funkadactyls taking on the Bella Twins up next. And of course, the Rhodes Scholars are in their corner. So Naomi started things off with one of the Bellas, which we never decide which one is which at this point because it's never mentioned by the announcers. So they lock up. Naomi hits a nice drop kick and hits what she calls the rear view, which is literally a split in the air which she rams her behind in your face. It looks awesome, by the way. And a head scissors takeover. Naomi gets dropped over the top rope. The Bellas turn it around. Naomi fights back to her feet. The other Bella tags in and throws her face first into the buckle. So Brie comes in now and takes control over Naomi. Thank you. Brie gets a 2 count and Naomi tries to fight back but gets slammed on the canvas. Yet another 2 count. So Brie goes to work on the arm of Naomi. Cameron finally gets tagged in and goes at it with Brie. Head scissors and the split leg drop, which looks awesome. Cameron hits a nice DDT for a 2 count. Nikki breaks up the pin. There's chaos around ringside with Tons of Funk and the Rhodes Scholars. Cameron hits the crossbody. Nikki reverses for the pin, hooks the tights. 1, 2, 3. Yay, Bella Twins win, which means you're going to see Tons of Funk and the Funkadactyls winning at WrestleMania. So yeah, that's what's going to happen. So up next is our final segment of the evening. You hear the gong and Undertaker's music quiets the entire crowd. And you are on pins and needles to what he's going to say. The crowd is just hugely behind Undertaker for obvious reasons. Of course, we flash back to last week when Punk mocked the Undertaker's tributary pose. before Taker would catch him off guard and lay into him with those big old soup bone shots of him. Trademark Jim Ross. So, Undertaker brought up CM Punk's over 400-day reign, but says the pain he brings Punk will last for an eternity. Punk made this extremely personal, and he will suffer for it. Winning at Mania is no longer good enough. The disrespect shown to Paul Bearer will have Punk paying the ultimate price. The streak, it may come to an end, but Punk will not live to talk about it. So, we hear the Gregorian chants in the darkness, and we see the Druids come out with fire sticks. Just a really strange scene. The Undertaker has no idea what's going on. The Druids are out with torches in hand. Taker looks on as the chanting continues. The crowd's in silence, and we hear the trademark Paul Bearer, "Oh, yes!" And you know who it is? It is Paul Bearer. But it's Paul Heyman, dressed as Paul Bearer, complete with black hair, complete with everything. And, yeah, Heyman's going to pay the ultimate price at WrestleMania as well. I don't think he's even going to... That's why we're going to obviously have to do the Brock Lesnar match earlier in the show, because I'm pretty sure Heyman's getting tombstoned. Yeah, I almost guarantee that's going to happen. So Taker marches up the ramp in a rage, and he freezes. The Druids surround him. He takes off one of their hoods, but it's not who he thinks he is. And a couple of them attack, and then Punk takes off the hood, and he's one of the Druids, and he attacks Taker with punches and kicks. And he has the urn in his hand, and he beats him incessantly with it. He continues the assault, laying into Taker with the urn over and over again. And then he does the absolute unthinkable from a storyline perspective. He unscrews the urn, and he pours the ashes on the Undertaker. That's insane. Oh my god. So Punk throws the ashes in Taker's face, and he even rubs him on his personal body and face. He goes into the pose over the prone Undertaker as we fade to black. Good God, what an ending to Raw. Okay, let's talk about what we've got here. So, we are getting Wade Barrett versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship on the pre-show. We are getting the Funkadactyls and Tons of Funk against the Rhodes Scholars and the Bella Twins on the main card. That's one problem. The Divas Championship will not be defended on the show, period, unless it is added to the pre-show, as well as the United States Championship will be not defended on the entire card unless it's on the pre-show. And none of this has been announced if it's going to happen, if there's going to be a Battle Royal, if there's going to be anything on the pre-show except for The Miz versus Wade Barrett. I want to see Chris Jericho and Antonio Cesaro in a longer program. I want to see that happen sooner rather than later. I think I know what's going to happen at WrestleMania, and of course I don't want to talk about that now. I'm not going to blow that spot. No, folks, we're going to talk about that on Sunday. With Will, we're going to have our nice WrestleMania, not necessarily a round table, we're going to have a WrestleMania discussion. So me and Will will have a WrestleMania discussion before his party at his house on Sunday before WrestleMania. So we're going to talk about that later. Wade Barrett is, his days as the IC champion are numbered, and numbered in 5, literally 5 days. I really like the Funkadactyls in the ring. I think they're awesome, and I think they would have fit the Knockouts division in TNA a lot more, honestly, because they're a tag team, and that's something that TNA doesn't have. Knockouts tag teams, when you have a tag team championship for the Knockouts. Doesn't make much sense. So the Divas Championship will not be on the line, but you're still going to see Divas. Undertaker and CM Punk, my god, this is nuclear heat. And Punk doing this pissed off a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter. I know I've read a lot of people that just don't get it. They don't understand that obviously Bill Moody himself was not desecrated. Paul Bearer, the character, was desecrated. It wasn't the fact that Punk said anything about William Moody. He didn't say Bill Moody's dead. He said Paul Bearer's dead. And of course, we've killed off the character of Paul Bearer 4 times at this point, right? So, I mean, it's just business as usual. But then again, when it comes down to it, the fact that Moody did pass away, it adds a whole different element to this match. And the intensity is there. It necessarily wasn't there before, but it is there now. And it sucks that they took a real-life tragedy to build up the heat, to intensify the heat for this match. But that's what happened. And it's just life. And now, you know, honestly, Moody is old school, and he probably would have really liked this angle, to be totally honest. And the fact that Punk took the ashes and poured them on The Undertaker, unbelievable, and it was awesome. I liked it, personally. I thought it was really well executed, and you put a whole lot of heat on CM Punk. Even the people that are chanting Punk's name, even the Punk fans like myself, they're a little bit skeptical at this point, and you don't know this year if this is going to be the year the streak ends. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons why it shouldn't. It's not good for business. That's right, Will. When it comes down to it, honestly, you have a DVD release of 20-0 you just put out. The Undertaker's 20 matches and his 20 wins. You can't really put a new DVD out 21-0. It doesn't make much sense. Punk's going to get the closest. I don't know if he's going to win, but Punk's getting the closest. I do not think this program would be anything unless Punk gets the closest. We saw Triple H and The Undertaker last year, and it was a hell of a match. And Undertaker did not walk to the back. No, he had to be carried, literally, on a cart. He had to be driven out of the building. I think worse for this year. Win, lose, or draw, I don't think either Undertaker or CM Punk are leaving on their own volition during this match. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be intense. It's going to be incredible. And you know, right now, I'm going to say it. I'll blow this spot because it's something that I'm sure everybody realizes already. Due to the build-up and the way it was put over last night, the fact that it was your main storyline, Undertaker and CM Punk's your WrestleMania main event. I'm almost positive it is. Because with what I think is going to happen with Cena and The Rock, it can't main event WrestleMania. Oh, it can if you want the visual. But I think right now, the Undertaker and CM Punk should and deserves to main event WrestleMania. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So, we have reached the end of our road to WrestleMania. There is one... Okay, never mind. We're on the last stop before the road to WrestleMania is over. And that would be SmackDown this week. So there's not really matches. There's a couple matches here and there, but not really much to prolong any storylines. Maybe a bit on main event here and there. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't read spoilers. I did, but I completely forgot them. So I'm trying not to read spoilers because I'm actually watching SmackDown now. So a whole different way to do things after WrestleMania. So we'll figure that out as soon as we get there. So the road to WrestleMania has been paved with potholes. But, you know, finally, 5 days before the big event, things are actually starting to fall into place. I still would like to see Cesaro on the main show, or on the show, period. I still don't understand why the Intercontinental Championship is being defended on the pre-show, and why all the championships are not defended at the biggest event of the year. I'm excited for the Hall of Fame. It's going to be awesome. And there's a lot of things to be excited about WrestleMania. So, that's coming this Sunday, so we're going to talk WrestleMania in depth on Sunday. And tomorrow, I'm actually going to talk about Dr. Jimmy's All Secrets Revealed for Halloween Horror Nights 23, and my thoughts on that. And, of course, what he said in his normal April Fool's Day video, which may or may not be true. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And I get ready to go to work, so I'm going to leave it at that. Join me, wrestling fans, on Saturday for SmackDown, and we're going to talk some more about the road to WrestleMania, and of course on Sunday, join me and Will and possibly a few other players for a WrestleMania discussion before the big event, and on Monday, we're going to talk about WrestleMania in depth, as well as we're going to talk about the April 7th edition of Celebrity Apprentice, which is going to end up being Dennis Rodman versus Penn Jillette. So, that's still to come. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, I'm up to 15 subscribers now, so we're close. We've got about 10 left, and I'll hit my goal for 25 at least. I want to get a whole lot more than that, so subscribe. Tell your friends about it. If you like it, subscribe. Watch the videos, like the videos, thumbs up the videos if you really want to. And that's, again, thank everyone for watching these videos. I'll continue to make them throughout the year. Obviously, daily vlogs are my new thing, so that's how it works. And we are April 2nd. So, April 2nd means we are 27 days remaining until we go back to the place that started it all. That's right. Me and Will make our return to the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio, for Monday Night Raw. And our seats 3 rows back from where we were last time. But when it comes down to it, it's where the YouTube channel started. So it's going to be nice to be able to talk about things from that perspective. So I'm going to get off here again. I'm going to head to work in about 30 minutes. And I'll try to get this video uploaded before I leave for B-dubs tonight. If not, it'll be later tonight. So watch for it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Leave comments if you liked it. If you didn't, don't. So, thanks again once again. And until tomorrow, that's all I gotta say about that.